Alright guys, Luke here and welcome to episode 5 of WWE 2002 in review. Today's episode is Judgment Day 2002. I don't know where that came from, but yeah, Judgment Day 2002. Sorry, it's been a while since the last episode. I originally planned to do them like once every week, if not more than once a week. But of course over like the Christmas period and New Year and everything, I just kind of didn't have time to watch these, so I've just been catching up and getting back on track with this series basically. So yeah, let's get on with the episode. So Backlash, the aftermath from Backlash. It's kind of that period in the year in WWE. This always happens where you know, it's like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like just after WrestleMania you have like the April pay-per-view, and like the buzz is still going for WrestleMania and stuff, and you have a lot of rematches and stuff, and then you get to May. You get to May and it's just kind of like slowing down a bit. People are kind of like filtering off, losing interest a bit because WrestleMania is over again for a year. I always find that, and I always find that as a viewer, that a few months after WrestleMania I lose interest for a bit until you know, around SummerSlam when my interest starts picking up again. That's just me, and it felt like that a lot here. Of course, the big thing to talk about in May of 2002 and April as well is the change from WWF to WWE. And of course this series is called WWE 2002 in review because most of these pay-per-views are WWE pay-per-views. So yeah, I think it was kind of a change that was really surprised a lot of people. No one thought that it would actually go that far, that the World Wildlife Fund would actually sue WWF and make them stop using the name. I was always quite confused as to why the lawsuit actually stated that they could never show the WWF scratch logo again. That always really confused me, and now it just annoys me because they can't officially release any old footage without blurring everything. You know, it's a real shame. But you know, they tried to make the most of it, and they had this whole "Get the F Out" campaign, which worked really well. Just a random note: I remember at the time on the internet there was these pictures circulating called "Get the F Out," and it was Brock Lesnar with with a panda on his shoulder, just like. And it was Austin stunning a panda, which of course the panda on the World Wildlife Fund logo, so it was pretty funny. I used to love those pictures. I wish I still had them. But yeah, so there's a big change with that. The NWO angle was really kind of winding down. They were still trying to keep it going, but it just wasn't really working. I mean, Hogan was off doing his own thing with Hulkamania. Nash had tore his quadricep just like Triple H did, and he was out. So we had Scott Hall and X-Pac as the only guys in NWO. So they brought in Big Show, Booker T, Ric Flair, and it was just you know, yeah, it just wasn't working. So anyway, on to the event itself. Judgment Day 2002. Epic opening video package with the creepy girls that we had at Judgment Day 2000, and I think they were in this anyway. Well, you know, it's that kind of thing, and it was all revolved around like a noose and stuff, which you can see on the cover there, hopefully. And you know, As I Lay Me Down to Sleep and all that stuff, and this epic music, and it's a really good opening video. I remember it a lot because I actually used a snippet of it in a wrestling show I was on like about, I don't know, 7 years ago or something, when I made the video. Anyway, first match, opening match, Rob Van Dam versus Eddie Guerrero. This is a great match. Intercontinental title, I believe. Yes. Rematch from Backlash. Fast opening sequence, and you just think like Eddie is just perfect. Just looking at him working in this match. There's an awesome spot where RVD goes to the corner, the second rope, and he pretends to go for a crossbody. Eddie Guerrero drops down onto his front, and then I was gonna say Van Dam then. Rob Van Dam does his split-legged moonsault onto the back of Eddie Guerrero. That was a really awesome spot. That looked really kind of like real because, you know, Eddie didn't drop and then go on his back. You know, he actually stayed on his front. They did like a Mexican surfboard, which RVD then bridged into a pin. I've never seen that before. And then he actually pushed him off from the surfboard, and Eddie just flew up and landed down. I mean, that got a great pop. In fact, they got a round of applause. Everyone stood up and clapped for that because it was just, you know, great athleticism. Eddie slows the match down. He rips RVD off the ropes and does this ridiculous. RVD rips off Eddie and does this ridiculous kind of split-legged. Just straight down, and Eddie jumps over him and stuff. Loads of cool stuff like that. You know, really sort of work into both of their best abilities to make a really good match. You know, Eddie's just doing all sorts of stuff. He's like reversing things into roll-ups, and he picks up RVD on his shoulders and like launches him onto RVD picks up Eddie and launches him onto the rope, almost like the old Austin the stun gun. That was awesome. I feel like I'm losing track of things already. I really shouldn't keep so many notes, so you don't need to know all the things about the match. There was a powerbomb in this on Rob Van Dam that was just ridiculous. I mean, it was more impactful than most last rides. It was just like makes my back hurt just watching stuff like that. Both guys missed the frog splashes. The crowd really hot, and they both kind of face each other off. And Eddie's just like, "Come on," you know, and slapping his chest, and RVD's just like that, you know, just like brilliant. And then they just run into each other, and they're whipping each other off and reversing things, and then there's a big crossbody by RVD, and he kind of gets too much of it because they're just going so fast. And then they do like a series of backslides, which was awesome. I believe it was Eddie went for a European uppercut. RVD blocked it, went into a backslide, kick out. RVD got up and did his back kick. Eddie blocked that, did a backslide for the win, and he put his feet on the ropes at the same time. Just a brilliant match, so many good sequences. Two great wrestlers, awesome opener. Then we're backstage with Reverend Devon with Decon Batista, and they're praying for Stacy Keibler, who's there, and she's about to face Trish Stratus. Vince turns up and he's just checking out Stacy's ass. He's like, oh, wow. Like, Vince is such a lech. It's horrible. Vince says he'll be celebrating with him later on tonight. Then there's this really good advert where there's a woman who's kind of like hedge cutting a WWF logo, and then someone lights it on fire, and it leaves just the twigs with the WW, the WW, which resembles the logo that is still around today. I thought that was it was a good campaign, that they really kind of made the best of it, and that was a really creative advert. I don't know why I'm reviewing the adverts now, guys, but I don't know. Just felt like I should comment. Trish Stratus versus Stacy for the Women's Championship, I think. We have Decon Batista, Devon, Reverend Devon accompanying Stacy, and there's talk of Bubba coming down to accompany Trish, and he does. He comes down. You know, the Dudleys get involved every now and again, just like on the outside of the ring. Batista comes in and gives Trish a big scoop slam, but she fights back, she kicks out, and she baseball slides Batista. And then Stacy tries to clothesline Trish, and Stacy ends up clotheslining Batista, and he's like, oh, it's just like like a token big guy. And then Trish gives her like a kind of really bad bulldog to finish it. The girls leave, and then the Dudleys face off. And JR said, well, split happens. Wow. Devon kind of teases a reunion with Bubba, and then Batista just pulls a table out, and Devon just goes like that and beats up Bubba. Devon's like shouting, I don't want to do this to you, but you have to see the light and all that. And then we hit him with like a double flapjack kind of thing through a table. A lot of heat for this. I thought it was a good angle as well. Just incorporating it into the Divas match and stuff to make it more interesting. Ric Flair and Arn Anderson backstage. Vince comes in and they kind of shake hands slowly, and there's a bit of tension there, and then Flair's like, now I can see what you were going through with Austin, because Flair's kind of feuding with Austin this time, and Vince like hugs him, and they're both laughing, and Vince is like and then they pull apart and they're like and then they walk off, and Flair's like I don't know what the purpose of that was really. Then we have the Hardys versus Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman. JR is hilarious in this. He's just ripping Heyman from the get-go, and it's just so funny the things he comes out with. The opening, Lesnar is about to get in the ring, and Jeff just jumps out of the ring, plancher, and Brock catches him. And then Matt does a baseball slide and knocks him over. Really cool spot to open the match. Really exciting. And yeah, here's some of the comments that JR said about Paul Heyman. He's an open wound on the face of humanity. He's a human urinal, a living, breathing septic tank. Lesnar dominates once it gets in the ring, and he throws Jeff into Matt, who flies out of the ring, and then he hits an F5 on Jeff, tags in Heyman, who wins, and after falling through the ropes, by the way, which everyone laughed at. And then King said, Heyman's got the body of a god. Unfortunately, it's a Buddha. They're so bad. We'll get to more of this in a while. Booker T's backstage. He's in the NWO, and he's just doing like a comedy segment, really. So it just shows you how much NWO was really like, you know, nothing really. I mean, Scott Hall wasn't here at this time either, so. In fact, I'm not sure if Scott Hall was gone by this point. Probably. Booker T meets this girl, and he's going nuts over her, and he's like, "Oh, damn," and all that, and then she kind of whispers something in his ear, and he's like, "Tell me you did not just say that," and then she walks off, and he's like, "Oh my goodness." So I was like, okay, that was weird, but it will pay off later. Video package for Stone Cold versus Ric Flair and the Big Show in a handicap match. This is basically Austin taking the instance that happened at Backlash as Flair screwing him over. Flair is now leading the NWO, Big Show's joined them, and Big Show talks about how he headlined WrestleMania when Austin was gone, and then this year at WrestleMania he was at the restaurant in WWF New York while Austin was at WrestleMania. That was really cool that he referenced that, and kind of like a good hooking point for Big Show to be really angry as opposed to just being there just for no reason, like, oh, I'm getting Big Show to be a bad guy for a while, you know, which they do sometimes. Flair's like attacking Austin and makes it a handicap match. I think it's a shame that they didn't really keep this feud as a one-on-one match between Flair and Austin. Maybe even keep it going for a bigger match at SummerSlam. Obviously Austin would leave very soon after this pay-per-view. It might have even been the night after, I'm not sure. So obviously that couldn't have happened, but I really think a Flair-Austin match would have been a lot better than just throwing Big Show in there. So the match itself, horrible NWO edit again. The music is just not the NWO music. I don't know what's going on. Flair's music is dubbed over as well, but you can actually hear the 2001 theme like underneath. Really bad. Just awful. Anyway, Austin comes out, big pop. Austin fights him off, and he's really energetic and entertaining, and it's just like really great. The crowd's on fire. He gets them both in figure fours, and like they try and get him off, and he punches them, and he moves out of the way, and he's kicking ass. There's a chair spot where Austin brings in a chair, and what is this? Charles Robinson's like, no, you got to take give me the chair. So Austin's like, alright, I'll give you the chair, and he goes out, gets another one, puts it down, he sits down, and he's like that to the referee, and just like brilliant Austin entertainment. Flair and Austin square off in the ring. Crowd's really hot for this. They exchange chops, and Austin just does loads of like really fast ones, and Flair's are selling like mad. This really just made me feel like, why couldn't this been Flair and Austin? You know. Yeah, his antics are great. Austin. Big Show gets tagged in, and Austin starts doing push-ups and stuff. Also makes me think like Austin isn't taking this match too seriously, but you know, he is brilliant. And Big Show gains control by attacking Austin's leg, and it gets really slow. And then Flair gets back in, they have another chop battle, and it's like, chop, woo, chop, what? And it just keeps going on, and that was really cool. Austin hit his kind of like spine buster on Flair, and it was awful. It looked like he just picked him up and then just put him down. I was really bad. Big Show kind of like just keeps trying to interfere all the time and stopping Austin from getting any kind of upper hand. Then Austin hits like a Luthez off the second rope on Big Show, which was really cool. Hits another Luthez on Flair. Does another bad spine burst on Flair, although it was not as bad as the first one. He actually bumped this one. Hits a stunner on Big Show. X-Pac just comes out of nowhere, tries to kick him. X-Pac kicks Big Show. Austin stuns X-Pac, stuns Flair, who sells it really cool. Flair's stunner cell was awesome. And then Austin wins. I think this match was too long. It kind of dragged out when Big Show was going after his leg, and it was really entertaining at the beginning, and the finishing sequence was really entertaining. The crowd was behind it, but that middle part of the match just dragged, and I think the crowd were getting a bit bored of it. But really entertaining moments in the match. It's just wasted opportunity again, I think. Cole and Taz are up in the stands, and they introduce the Angle Edge video package, and they show the barber's stand next to the stage where there's a barber's chair for the hair versus hair match between Kurt Angle and Edge. The video package for that is really cool. Angle's unveiling his new t-shirt on SmackDown, and Edge comes out and he's like, look, we had a hell of a match at Backlash, and you know, I just want to see your new t-shirt and everything. And Angle's like, yeah, I knew you'd come around, yeah. He pulls the thing off, and Angle's like that, and it says, you suck. And Angle's like, is that me or what? I love Angle. I've said this so many times on this series, but he's just brilliant. And then they fight and so on. And this was the start of Edge introducing the fans chanting, you suck, with Angle's music, which is really interesting because that just went on for years and years. And in the video package it shows Angle saying to Edge he wants to face him again, but he wants to put Edge's pretty boy hair on the line. And Edge agrees if Angle will put up his hair as well. And he says that by the end of Judgment Day, Angle will be red, white and bald. So the match itself. Wow, this match. This match was awesome. Great opening. You know, just like loads of good stuff. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but Angle gets his arms caught up in the ropes. Edge spears him, goes for another one, and Angle catches him in a belly to belly and just launches him out of the ring from inside the ring to the outside. Just unbelievable. Just really insane. During this match, Lawler actually says WWF, and then he kind of falters for a bit, and he's like, I mean WWE. Jay, you gotta tell me to get the F out. And then JR was like, well, you might take that literally and leave. Like, the jokes between these two are just like, they're funny because they're so bad. You know, another one, oh, he kicked out by a hair. I think at one point King even says, you getting these down, JR? And JR starts throwing in these hair puns and jokes. I mean, they literally must have had like a page there of just like hair-related jokes. It's mental. Edge just like a running crossbody over the top rope to the outside, and it was really sketchy. It looked like he nearly fell and just kind of like barely hit Angle. Oh, this was a great moment. Angle ran up to the top to do the belly to belly off the top. Edge was on the top rope. Angle runs up to kind of grab him and throw him off. And what ended up happening was Edge actually just pushed him, and he flew back, did a massive bump, and then he came down with a dropkick. I love this because it was really good psychology, because Angle hit him with that in the Backlash match. So it was Edge learning from, you know, what they'd already done, and I love that. That's great psychology to people who really watch and pay attention to the wrestling. And then Angle actually manages to hit the top rope belly to belly a bit later on, and it's unreal. Like, he sends Edge almost the whole way across the ring. It's mental. The crowd are behind every near fall. I mean, this is wrestling at its best. There's just a simple story behind this match. Two guys who don't get along. They're great wrestlers. They want to prove who's the best. You know, they're getting under each other's skin. Nothing too elaborate, and they're great wrestlers, and they have great matches, and the crowd really buy into that. It's just, it is wrestling at its best. These two guys is brilliant. I've lost where I am now. Edge tries kind of doing a backflip out of a German suplex, and it was really sketchy. Shame, really. And then there's an amazing spear when the ref gets a spear down. Angle comes in with a chair, and Edge hits him with a spear, and it's just like the most perfect spear. You know, just executed and taken perfectly. I love watching these two guys wrestle. They're amazing. Again, they do the same finish spot from Backlash, where Edge goes for another spear, and Angle kicks him, sends him down, and goes for the angle slam. Only this time, Edge reverses the angle slam, ducks a clothesline, hits another spear. So again, this psychology is just, you don't see it that much these days, where they're just like, they putting in bits from their previous matches, where they're learning from their mistakes and like extending the sequences. I love that. I love that in wrestling. And the near fall for this was unbelievable. Probably the biggest near fall of the night by far. And then Angle gets up and he spears Edge, hits him with an angle slam, goes to the pin, Edge kicks out. The near fall is amazing. The crowd, the whole arena becomes unglued. It's absolutely brilliant. This match you really need to see if you haven't seen it. Just the whole ending is just so good. Angle puts Edge in the ankle lock. He kind of almost gets the rope and he pulls Edge into the middle of the ring. Looks like it's over. The crowd are going nuts. Edge turns around. He kicks Angle off to the ropes. Angle bounces off the ropes. Edge catches him in a roll up and wins with a 1-2-3. And the roll up was just like, timing was perfect. Just unbelievable. I can't say enough good things about this match. After the match, they fight for a bit, and Edge DDTs Angle and drags him up to the barber's chair, but he manages to run off. And that is that. Now we now see Booker T in a Marriott hotel room in bed, waiting for the girl from earlier. And again, she gets in bed, and he's like, "Oh my goodness!" And she wants him to turn the light off, and then he's like, "Oh, say something else. I love when you talk dirty to me, baby." And you hear Goldust saying, "I want you to leave the NWO and come back to Goldust." Booker T puts the light on, and he's like, "What the hell, man?" And then he leaves with his pants down. Right, you can see his ass. You can almost see his knob, right? It's just a bit of an eyeful, you know. And then Goldust pulls the covers down. He's in bed with a girl, and he's got this nightgown on. He's like, "Man, I wore this nightgown for nothing." Like, this was just a mental skit. Like, I don't know. It was kind of funny. Goldust was funny, but it's just like, oh, it's so weird. Now we have the Jericho and Triple H video package. It seems almost like this is a Triple H versus Vince feud, because it's just Vince promoing on Triple H, you know? And it almost looks like, you know, Vince versus Triple H, and he's bringing in his lackey Jericho to come in and beat up Triple H, you know? Hell in the Cell. Like, I don't know, why don't they just put Vince in the cell? I mean, Vince was involved in almost all the main matches here, and you know, it's just kind of like, God, enough of Vince. You know, just get, you know, let it be a Jericho, powered feud. You know, Jericho wasn't one on the mic saying, "I'm going to kick your ass at Hell in the Cell." You know, I want to get retribution for WrestleMania and all that. No, it was Vince on the mic and Jericho just kind of there, just beating up Triple H with a chair. And the match itself, however, was bloody and brutal and awesome. And now I'm going to actually do something a bit special. As far as the Triple H Jericho feud goes, I'm glad that it got paid off eventually after WrestleMania. And I'm actually going to read you something, or just bits of Undisputed. And something I wanted to mention in the WrestleMania video was that Jericho didn't actually get paid as much as Triple H at WrestleMania, and there's a story here. So yeah, I'd been in the technical main event of the show, WrestleMania, the second biggest match on the card. I'd always heard that when you wrestled in the main event of WrestleMania, you made in the high 6 figures, and in some cases even 7. That's why I was stunned when I opened the envelope and saw a check for 5 figures. Now first off, believe me when I say that under normal circumstances a 5-figure check is a big chunk of change. But this was WrestleMania and I felt I should have made more. I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. I made almost double that from the Invasion pay-per-view, and I was one part of a 10-man tag match. The Mania buy rates were bigger, the show was held in the stadium, and I was in the championship match that closed the show. Something had to be wrong, so a week later I asked Triple H how much he made from Mania. He told me the number, and I nodded and excused myself. I walked outside to the back of the arena in Columbia, South Carolina, and blew a fucking gasket. He'd made almost 5 times as much as I had. I was furious and insulted. I would have understood if he'd made a little bit more, but he was the returning babyface and the biggest star, but 5 times more. So he went to see Vince about it, and basically he came in and Vince said, "So what's the problem?" "The problem is, Vince, I got my check for WrestleMania, and I understand how you grade the payoffs, but this is a complete insult. I mean, I don't..." Vince cut me off. "I'll take care of it, JR, cut him a check." He walked out of the office, leaving JR and me staring at each other. "Well, that was easy," said JR. So a week and a half later, he received a check in the mail that was more than he actually expected. He said he'll always admire how Vince quickly dealt with the problem and heard me out. End of story. So that was pretty interesting that he Triple H made 5 times as much as Jericho initially. My return to pay-per-view came the next month in a rematch with Triple H in the dreaded Hell in the Cell. Cell matches were famous for featuring at least one big nasty bump, like when Mick Foley was thrown off the top of the cell, or when Shawn Michaels fell off the side through a table. Even Vince fell off the damn thing. So Triple H decided that we needed to break the chain, both because we wanted to focus on psychology and because neither one of us wanted to take the crazy bump. We also wanted this cell match to be a transition from a spectacle revolving solely around an insane bump to a violent grudge match held within the confines of a barbaric cage. I thought it would be easier to make that transition if we did the finish on top of the cage, and Triple H agreed. So he talks about how when they got to the arena, he looked at the cell and thought it wasn't actually that bad, and he decided he was actually going to do a crossbody off the top of the cage in the match. I climbed to the top of the cage to chart my flight plan, but when I looked down I instantly thought, there is no fucking way I'm jumping off this thing. I felt like I was on top of Mount Everest glaring down at a gang of ants, and it reminded me of the first time I climbed to the top rope. So yeah. We came up with a unique finish where we would fight our way to the top and Triple H would hit me with a pedigree on the roof. We both liked the idea. And yeah, it talks about how Timmy White, the referee, actually got injured and his shoulder was separated beyond repair, and he actually had to retire from refereeing and stuff. You know, and I thought it was a really great match. You know, like Jericho says, it wasn't revolved around a big bump. It was just like a bloody, brutal, just brawl inside the cage. Loads of great stuff going on. You know, and they got to the outside of the cage because Timmy White was injured, so they had to open the cage door, and they climbed onto the top of the cage. They had the barbed wire bat there, and they were doing stuff on top of the cage. On top of the cage, I put them in the walls of Jericho, which ended up being more than a little terrifying because the fencing was bending and shaking underneath us. As I took, finally Hunter pedigreed me on top of the cage and pinned me. As I took the bump, I wondered what would happen if the steel beams collapsed and we crashed right through the cage and fell 12 feet to the mat. Thankfully, the supports remained attached. When it was all said and done, it was mission accomplished. We'd had a spectacular match and nobody had taken the crazy bump, except for Jimmy. Timmy. little Timmy. The whole concept of what Hell in the Cell match was now changed because of Triple H and me, and both of us are proud of that to this day. Vince was pleased too, and it seemed like I was back in his good graces again. So yeah, I don't really need to talk about this match really much. I really love it. A lot of people don't like it at all, but I really liked, you know, the way it was, you know, just a bloody brutal brawl, bloody brutal brawl. I think the next Hell in a Cell match would actually be a lot better than this in terms of just keeping it contained inside of the cage. But I really enjoyed this one, and I was glad that, you know, Jericho got to have this big match. And also, it just makes you feel like Hell in a Cell is such a big deal. Before this, it had been almost a year and a half since the last one, whereas these days it doesn't feel as special. Now we see Angle. He's hiding backstage, and he kind of sits in a makeup chair with like a cloak and a cap, and he's hiding from Edge, and Edge is running down the corridor, just going, "Where are you, Angle, you son of a bitch?" Another WWF promo. This time there's two people having sex in a limo, listening to Sexual Chocolate, Mark Henry's theme song, and the window's kind of like foggy, and it's got WWF, and then the window goes down, comes back up again, and it's just WWE. That was really bad. Then we see Maven on a date with Tori Wilson in WWF New York. That was really random. She says, "Oh, it's so great being away from Tajiri. I can wear anything I want. Maybe nothing at all." And Maven's like, "Pfft." Like, just who writes this stuff? Who wrote this stuff? You know. Then we have Billy and Chuck defending the tag titles against Rikishi and a mystery opponent who turned out to be Billy and Chuck's manager, Rico. So Rico was like, "Oh, okay, let's go." And when it's announced, Rikishi just goes, "What the f-?" Just like so audible. It's brilliant. Rikishi dominates the match, just beats both up, beats Billy and Chuck both up. The tide turns when he goes to tag Rico in for some reason. He's like, "Hey, tag me in," and then they beat him up from behind. It was really stupid. Rico tries interfering and fails, and Rikishi wins the match and leaves with the belts. He gets on top of the stage. Magically a hat appears, he puts the hat on, gets the belts, and he starts dancing with the Too Cool music and the pyro's going off, and I was just like, okay then. You know, I mean, the match itself was good. I love Rikishi. I think he was a great big guy. Really enjoyed his wrestling and stuff, and even his character in like 2000. He did this great move in the match. I think it was Billy. Billy ran towards him and he kind of picked him up by the legs, threw him up, launched him, and then grabbed him in a cutter. But there wasn't enough connection or anything. But I used to love that move Rikishi did. It's kind of like a super RKO, really. Shame that it didn't really connect much. But that match was just okay. Edge is running around backstage for Angle, and then Angle kind of blindsides him from nowhere, beats him right around the backstage area, drags him through Gorilla, which is cool. We got to see like where the wrestlers go. Angle gets on the mic and he's like, "You want to see a haircut? I'll give you a freaking haircut." Throws Edge into the barber's platform. Actually took like a bump off the stage. Edge fights back and puts Angle in a sleeper, shaves his head, bics it and everything, and then he slaps Angle and gives him a mirror. And Angle's like, "Son of a bitch." I'm in love with Kurt Angle from like 2000 to 2002, 3. This is just all of his comedy stuff is just gold, man. It's so funny. And then Edge gets up on the stage and he gets everyone to chant "You're bald," to his music, and Angle's just like there, just on the floor crying, holding the broken mirror. It's just like a brilliant visual and a great angle after a great match. This is really good stuff. Then we get JR and King at the announce table talking about the main event just about to start. King's just disgusted with the whole situation with Edge and Angle. And he said, "Oh, the only thing worse would be if they forced him to wear a cowboy hat." Which I thought was a pretty funny reference to a SmackDown promo. Then we get the Hogan Undertaker video package, the main event, Hogan versus Taker for the Undisputed WWE title. Taker says Hogan's welcome for his huge comeback, seeing as he was the one who kind of helped him win the title in Backlash. And at Judgment Day, he'll be the judge, jury, and executioner, which is on the front cover. And then, like, this is the video package now, when Hogan rides out on Raw on Taker's bike and calls him a bitch, crushes his bike with a big 18-wheeler truck. Taker's mad, so he attacks Hogan, hog ties his legs, and kind of drives him through the arena on a bit of rope with his motorbike. Conveniently, Hogan just happened to be wearing a leather jacket and a helmet, you know, which, like every other promo, he's just there in his Hulkamania top and his bandana, but this one time, he was wearing a helmet. And then and then I said the promo just ends. So the build wasn't that great for this match. They could have gone into their history, the fact that Taker won his first world title from Hogan, but none of that. Now the match itself, Taker actually has Hogan's belt with him to start the match, and he starts whipping Hogan with before the bell's even rung. Hogan comes back, of course, with some punches and whips Taker. The match starts. Hogan hits Undertaker with a big back body drop, and Taker flies across the ring. That was really impressive. And then Hogan clotheslines Taker out the ring and pulls his shirt open, and that's when I'm just like, okay, let's just get this review over and finish this event, Jesus. Yeah, Taker gets whipped into the steps and takes it full on, and there's a guy like just next to the barrier who goes, "Holy shit! Did you see that? Oh my God! You get him, brother!" I love fans who are just like so overly vocal. It just is hilarious and makes it a bit more enjoyable for me when it's a bad match. Hogan actually gives Taker a superplex from the second rope, quite impressive. Looked a bit touch and go for a second, where the Hogan's like legs would actually kind of like hold out. Hogan big boots Taker and goes for the leg drop, and the crowd barely even react. Taker grabs his leg and turns over into a single leg Boston Crab and continues to work over Hogan's legs. Yeah, the crowd. I think the crowd are just waiting for that generic formula of a Hogan match. They're just waiting for the Hulk up and then the big boot and leg drop. I think that's why there was no reaction for that. It just shows how Hogan is just like a one-trick pony, I think. There's an awful choke slam on Hogan. Hogan hulks up, and yeah, this whole thing just feels so worn out already. I mean, I've watched WrestleMania, Backlash, and now Judgment Day. The match with The Rock, Triple H, and Undertaker, arguably three of the biggest stars in the company at this time. The match with The Rock was amazing. The match with Triple H was okay, pretty good, I'd say. But this one is just like almost brutal. But you know, Vince, oh yeah, hulks up from the chokeslam, big boot, leg drop. Taker kicks out, hits another leg drop. Vince comes out, distracts the referee. Hogan pulls in Vince, big boot, leg drop. And then Taker comes from behind with a chair shot and gives Hogan a really bad chokeslam where he's putting about that much height off the mat. And pins him, which is a really weak ending, but what other way would they do it, really? Hogan's not going to take a last ride or a tombstone, is he? Vince has got like a big grin on his face now that Taker's won the title and Hogan's lost the belt. And again, it just seems like Vince is involved in every main storyline in this era, really. Taker gets back in the ring and he does the spot where he kind of braces a chair against someone's throat and then just like slams him down to the mat. And yeah, just beat the fuck out of Hogan basically, which was pretty cool. But yeah, Judgment Day 2002. I think it was a really good event for the two or three matches, I'd say. The opener, Eddie and RVD, just almost a perfect opening match. Angle and Edge, just an amazing wrestling match. And Jericho and Triple H, an awesome grudge match. And you know, you got other entertaining matches on here, but I think the main event lets it down slightly. But I would give this event an 8 out of 10, I think, for sure. In fact, no, I'll give it a 9 out of 10, because I really think Angle and Edge is it's a classic, actually. The Hell in a Cell match is great, and there's a lot of really good matches, so yeah, 9 out of 10 for sure. So yeah, that's my Judgment Day 2002 review. I hope this hasn't been too long, fingers crossed. It's probably going to be about 30 minutes, I guess. 31? 32? Hope not. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I will leave you with my quick DVD review. Okay, so here we have the DVD. Hopefully this lighting's okay. Again, we've got the Undertaker on the front cover here. Looks really cool with the noose and everything. Judge, jury, and executioner works really well with the Judgment Day theme. Back cover, just some kind of just block images of the wrestling. Not very creative or anything, but and all the matches and stuff. Can Hollywood Hulk Hogan survive the Undertaker's wrath? No. I don't actually have the insert for this, but as always, there's something behind the disc. Just kind of advertising Silver Vision and stuff. So yeah, disc exactly the same as the front cover. And the special features, which there's not many, but there's some cool ones. We have 3 bonus interviews. One's with Bubba Ray Dudley, talking about how he's like emotionally upset that Devon has kind of chosen to turn against him. And Bubba's also like crying. Well, not crying, but like he's just kind of like, I never thought he'd do this, you know, man. I'm just really hurt right now. And then we got Devon, who kind of like does like a weird promo where he kind of like just kind of forgets what he's saying really and just says entertain about 5 times. And then the other interview is with the Hardys. Again, talking about Brock Lesnar, and they're like, yeah, we want to get our hands on Heyman again.
But we give up on Brock because we just can't beat him. And Jeff's like, yeah, like Brock is just that kind of guy. It's just like supernatural, if you know what I mean. Like, I don't know. It's just like, I just think he's like just like so strong. It's like he's just supernatural to me, you know. It's really, really weird. We got Bite This with Triple H, which is just like a few kind of 30-second clips where he talks about Hell in a Cell. He puts over the fact that it ended the careers of Mick Foley and Shawn Michaels. He talks about how he actually puts Jericho over a bit, how Jericho can get really kind of nasty and stuff, and just like Jericho's got like a really good strategy and things like that, basically. Yeah, he puts over Jericho and puts over the match and how physically kind of like such a physical toll it'll take on the body and all that kind of stuff. I think he really sold the match quite well. And then finally we have Sunday Night Heat, William Regal versus D'Lo Brown for the European Championship, which is a pretty good match. You know, I love Regal, so I watched it, but it's not really a match you're gonna kind of watch first on this DVD. You're not gonna rush out to stick that one on, but it's a really good match. I don't know why I said that. It's almost like it's like I'm kind of like tuned to saying, yeah, it was a really good match. It wasn't a really good match. It was a Sunday Night Heat match, but it was a pretty good match. You know, and Regal's always awesome. So yeah, that is Judgment Day 2000, 2002 even. I'm sorry, I botched it again. Just looking at my light because it went off. And yeah, as I said on the review of the event itself, I would give it an 8 out of 10, and I give the DVD a 4 out of 10. Just a few special features, nothing special. So yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you with episode 6.